Diamond P Sports presents from the National Hot Rod Association, Championship Drag Racing. Since 1961, drag racers and their fans have been converging on several hundred acres of mid-Indiana, known as Indianapolis Raceway Park, in a quest for performance. Those attending the 29th running of the world's largest drag race, the US Nationals, have not been disappointed. The hottest car all season, Gary Beck, shattered the Top Fuel track record, posting a 5.50 second elapsed time. The fiberglass-bodied funny cars were not to be denied in the performance category. Kenny Bernstein set low elapsed times, closely followed by defending champ Billy Meyer, along with previous winners Raymond Beadle, Don Prudhomme, and Tom McEwen. For the first time ever, all 16 cars qualified under the 6-second barrier and were so evenly matched that only 16 hundredths of a second separates the field. Undoubtedly, the biggest story thus far is the defending Top Fuel champion and three-time world champion, Shirley Muldowney. On a qualifying run earlier in the event, Shirley ran into problems. Shedding parts and pieces, the car finally rolled to a stop. Shirley Muldowney jumped from the cockpit, signaling to the arriving safety crew and to the fans that she was okay. As we look again, the smoke you see comes from some internal engine damage. It was the left front tire letting go at nearly 250 miles an hour that caused the car to head for the guardrail. Striking a glancing blow. The impact kept the car from going over the rail, forcing it back onto the edge of the racetrack where it finally came to a halt. From another angle, you can see the problems created when the front tire came off, the car violently shaking and rocking as it headed for the guardrail. The sharp impact sent the car flying through the air, but the important point, Shirley was not injured. Displaying great composure, Shirley was surrounded by many concerned people. Steve Evans joined them.
You okay?
Yeah. I'm really fine. Lost a left front tire or wheel or something. Tire, I guess.
Shirley, an incredible job at driving. You okay?
Just got lucky, Steve, that's all. Just got lucky. Good racetrack, good conditions, guardrails where it's supposed to be. I hope we can fix it, but I don't think so.
I don't think it's quite that bad when you get to looking at it, and you've got an awfully talented crew. That's about the worst experience that I can recall you having.
That was the hardest I've ever hit. We lost a rear wheel at Martin in '80, but came back and won the race, so maybe we can fix the car.
World-class driving.
Lucky, thank you.
A remarkable lady, the defending Nationals Top Fuel champion, Shirley Muldowney. Shirley's crew chief, Ron Tobler, and son John Muldowney picked up the pieces and headed back to the pit area to survey the damage. The car was totally dismantled, every part checked thoroughly. The front end pieces were replaceable. Just bolt on new ones, mount new wheels and tires. The major problem was with the chassis itself. The right rear tire took the bulk of the impact of the crash, moving the chassis out of alignment by almost 1.5 inches. The Muldowney camp moved to a nearby race car fabrication shop for repairs. Shirley had qualified on the run. The rules called for her to run the same car in eliminations. The constructor of Shirley's race car, Al Swindle, flew in from Washington State to assist Ron Tobler and John Muldowney with the repairs. Heating the chassis in 17 different spots, the crew applied the needed pressure at just the right points to bring the tubular chassis back into perfect alignment. The repairs were carried out with such precision that Shirley was back on the racetrack on the final day of qualifying for a checkout run. Shirley must have had the problems of the accident and the repairs on her mind as she approached the starting line. The short burst proved the repairs were correct, and Shirley shut off early to save the engine for elimination.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClellan. I'm at Race Control Central here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and you can feel the sense of excitement in this overflow crowd as we get set for the final eliminations of the running of the world's largest drag race, the 29th annual NHRA US Nationals. For the first time in history, $1 million purse has been posted, and over 1,000 racers started qualifying 4 days ago just for the right to race in today's finals. The big story of this event, the trials and tribulations of the reigning world champion, Shirley Muldowney. Let's go down to Shirley's pit area and join Steve Evans.
Shirley, maybe more than any other competitor here this weekend, you've demonstrated just how important the U.S. Nationals is to a racer.
It's the most important race to everyone. You plan a long time. You look forward to Indy. Plus, it's a great race. Plus, it's a lot of fun to be here.
And it's the kind of weekend that has tested all the talents of your crew.
Yeah, we're tired right now, but I think we've got 4 more rounds in us somewhere.
You're confident in the repairs, the chassis, the car?
Yes, the car. There's no doubt in our mind that the car is perfect, all right? We had a few motor problems yesterday. Our head work wasn't done correctly, so we made the necessary corrections and changes, and hopefully it'll be good to us. We started it this morning, and it sounded just as good as any car in the pit, so I'm very optimistic.
The 29th annual U.S. Nationals is being brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers and proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Brute. Make every day your Brute Day with Brute by Fabergé. And by Goodyear, makers of Eagle high-performance radials and Wrangler all-season radials for light trucks. The U.S. Nationals. We'll be right back. Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park, we're getting set for the second round of Top Fuel eliminations, and the first pair of cars includes Shirley Muldowney, who just a few moments ago found out how well her car would run, as in the first round of competition, Shirley Muldowney was matched against Doug Kerhulis. Kerhulis, out of Bakersfield, California, is a rapidly rising star in the field of Top Fuel Eliminator, but he took on the defending champ in round number 1. Shirley Muldowney in the left-hand lane drove away from Doug Kerhulis and won it with a 5.71 second, 241-mile-an-hour charge.
Well, Shirley, you can put all the problems of the weekend behind you now.
Yeah, I think so. Now we have to just tune the car up, and it seemed like it might have been a little bit rich to me. It was a little lazy coming into the lights, but I don't know. We just got to look at it and see.
Well, a 5.71, a very respectable elapsed time.
Decent. That's what we qualified with. 1 round to qualify, so we're happy. We're just happy to be here, Steve.
Shirley would love to duplicate that 5.71 second elapsed time, as one of her strong competitors, Richard Tharp, is in the lane beside her, a former national champion, winning this event back in 1976, driving for the team of Kilpatrick and Connell, Dallas, Texas, his home base. Shirley Muldowney calls Mount Clemens, Michigan home. In the first round, Tharp had a slightly better elapsed time. He's got to be considered somewhat of a favorite over Shirley, even though she is the defending champion. Concentrating on the starting line, both cars leave together, and something goes wrong with Shirley's car, and it's an easy run for Richard Tharp. He doesn't back off too much, though. He runs a 5.73 elapsed time, while Shirley just coasts through the timing traps at the end of the quarter-mile racing surface. Shirley and her crew, nothing to be ashamed of after a valiant effort all week here at the U.S. Nationals. Here's the number 1 qualifier, the car that has been establishing track records wherever it goes, and Indianapolis Raceway Park no exception. The man currently leading the points chase, Gary Beck, and here's the man that is number 2 in the World Championship points chase. This is Jody Smart from San Antonio, Texas. Smart trailing right behind Gary Beck and pushing him all the way through this season, but Beck, on the performance of his qualifying time, has got to be considered the favorite. Gary Beck's car owner, Larry Miner, runs a similar Top Fuel dragster in competition, but he's already been eliminated and is serving as a crewman for Gary Beck. For Jody Smart, he's a very successful San Antonio businessman that decided a couple of years ago, let's go championship drag racing, and he's doing so with a vengeance, running against Gary Beck. But look at Beck pull away, and at the finish line, a big margin of victory. The elapsed time for Gary Beck, 5.50. His speed at the end of the quarter mile, over 250 miles an hour. So Gary Beck with this win advancing to the semifinals as this overflow crowd looks on. We're continuing in the second round of Top Fuel competition at the US Nationals, and one of the youngest drivers racing today is in the lane nearest the camera. 20-year-old Scott Coletta, hailing out of Belleville, Michigan, has the opportunity to run against another of his Michigan counterparts, Dick LaHaye. Steve Evans has had a chance to catch up with Gary Beck.
You may be looking at the new world champion here before the season's out. A 5:50, Gary, a little bit quicker even than your qualifying run.
Really, it's good. The car seems to be hanging right in there, and the whole crew, Larry Miner, Dick Veenstra, Bill Walters, Terry Caldwell, they all got this thing just to fly in, you know. And of course, Bernie Federley's got the crew chief. He got her dialed in real good for us this weekend.
Well, the mission of getting Jody and Shirley out early has been accomplished. Now you got to win this race.
Yeah, it is. Joe Amado's going to be coming up here, you know, and Richard Tharp's doing very well. It's a tough race here, but this is the National. It's always tough.
Gary knows how tough this Nationals field can be, as he won this event 2 times before, back-to-back, in 1972 and 1973. On the starting line, young Scott Coletta is getting set for his second round race. Coletta, 20 years old, is the son of longtime drag racer Connie Coletta. He hails from Belleville, Michigan. While Lansing, Michigan is not far away, Dick LaHaye, a strong competitor and a good friend of the Colettas. But here on the starting line, LaHaye figures it's my race to win, and Coletta says, I'm going to try to stop you. Both cars with their nitro-burning race engines capable of putting out over 2,500 horsepower can cover a quarter mile in well less than 6 seconds at speeds over 250 miles an hour. A great deal of concentration has to be used at the starting line because an advantage there can turn into a distinct win at the finish line. Scott Coletta off ahead of Dick LaHaye, who runs into problems. And the 20-year-old Coletta goes into the semifinals with a fine 5.73. His speed over 241 miles an hour. LaHaye just coasting to a stop as he had problems right off the starting line. The next pair of cars, their engines running, coming out of the water, is Gene Snow doing the burnout that every car in competition performs. His competition, Joe Amato. Down at the far end of the racetrack, our most recent winner has had a chance to come to a stop. Let's go down to Scott Coletta.
20-year-old Scott Coletta doing this well at the U.S. Nationals has got to be a dream come true, man. You're going into the third round.
I'm telling you, it's nice. You know, I owe it to Dad.
How'd the car feel to you?
Yeah, it's a lot better. The lane got it to hook up this time, and it shook a little bit, but we played with the gear ratio a little bit, so I think now we can make some more power with it now it's hooking up.
And one thing you're doing this weekend where you've had problems is keeping the motor together. It's not oiling, you're not breaking apart.
Scott Coletta trying to keep all the secrets there in the Coletta camp. One of the rising new stars of championship drag racing, 20-year-old Scott Coletta, now in the semifinals. This is an established star with his lovely wife Jerry helping him back up, is Joe Amato, winner of 3 Top Fuel Championship races thus far this season. Amato would love to add the U.S. Nationals to his credit. From Old Forge, Pennsylvania, a former alcohol racer moving into the nitro ranks. Racing against him from Fort Worth, Texas, the fabulous snowman, Gene Snow. Longtime drag racer, used to run the funny cars, the Snowman series of cars. Dropped out for a couple of years, formed his own business, an oil company, and got one of the best Top Fuel dragsters going. He calls it the Black Gold Special. Joe Amato in the far lane. In the near lane, a red light for Gene Snow, and he is out of competition. Joe Amato doesn't take it easy. He runs 5.64. He could have backed off early as Gene Snow red-lighted. That indicates he left the starting line too soon, and he lost. Gary Beck against Scott Coletta. Joe Amato against Richard Tharp. That's the Top Fuel semifinals at the U.S. Nationals. Let's go back into the pit area and see if we can find out just what went wrong with Shirley Muldowney's car.
Well, Ron, you get all your chassis problems solved and the blower steps up and bites you. What happened?
I'm not real sure what happened, Steve. This part here goes inside this blower snout, which drives the supercharger, and for some reason, the whole inside guts of the snout came out, which I've never, in all the years I've raced, ever seen anything happen like that. There's really no reason for there to be any front load on that or any cause for it to come out whatsoever. That's just the way our luck's been going this weekend.
Seems to be an endless variety of ways to lose in this game, doesn't there?
Yeah, there always are, Steve. They always say the $2 part will beat you, but in this case, it was just a little snap ring that came out. But we're just thankful that the car's here in one piece and she's okay, and we at least got to go up there and race a little bit today.
A week of tough breaks for the Muldowney camp, but they can take great pride in their effort nonetheless. At the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park, we're getting ready for funny car competition. Don't go away. The 29th annual U.S. Nationals Drag Racing Championships at spacious Indianapolis Raceway Park. And on the track, the crowd-pleasing fiberglass-bodied funny cars. In the far lane, the team of Candies and Hughes with Mark Oswald, their driver. And in the near lane is Kenny Bernstein. From Dallas, Texas comes Kenny Bernstein. He's been having some real problems as of late. But Mark Oswald is driving for one of the best teams in the business. The Louisiana-based Candies and Hughes has got a great ride. The brilliant blue funny car, a replica of a Pontiac Trans Am with a nitro-burning 2,500 horsepower engine, while in the Bernstein camp, again, one of those nitro-burning engines, but a Mercury LN7 fiberglass body. Bernstein has been on quite a tear lately. He has had a very up and down season, but if you ever hear of anybody breaking out of a slump, Bernstein has done it. He won the recent North Star Nationals, then won the completion of the Big Bud Shootout, which paid him $50,000 cash. And now here he is in round number 2 against Mark Oswald at the U.S. Nationals, striving for another championship. Both drivers now approaching the line where the concentration is all so important. The start is everything, and it is Bernstein out first. But Oswald hot on his heels. They enter the speed trap side by side. Bernstein wins the race, but ladies and gentlemen, the fastest time ever for a funny car. Mark Oswald just ran over 257 miles an hour and lost the race. The start, as I said, is everything. Watch very closely. You can see Bernstein leave just ahead of Mark Oswald. He did not get a red light. It was a good start. Both cars, the tires grasping at the pavement, trying to get the traction to put them into the finish line area first. Now watch this as they approach the first light of the speed trap. They are side by side. Then Bernstein just pulls it out. A couple of feet difference at the finish line. Kenny Bernstein wins it.
Kenny Bernstein's crew is going to be very, very proud of him when they get down here, because even though he ran about 0.05 of a second slower, he beats Mark Oswald. Beautiful driving, Kenny.
Oh, thank you. I really thought I red lighted. In fact, I did one of those on the throttle where you go, I mean, I just really almost screwed up, and it shook and everything, and I'm lucky.
You know, this morning I was calling you the world's fastest funny car driver. I have to go call Mark Oswald that now. He just ran 257 trying to catch you.
Did he really? Well, congratulations to Paul and Mark and my friends, because anybody runs 257, that's super.
The next pair of cars started at the starting line and into the water, designed to allow the tires to start spinning. Then that smoke you see coming off the tires actually burning the rubber across the starting line. The body goes down over the 2,500 horsepower plus and tubular chassis of Billy Meyer, the defending champion. He's driving a Pontiac Trans Am bodied replica in this funny car category. Billy Meyer took about a month and a half off. His crew returned to his Waco, Texas home, and they said, we have got to get our act together before the Nationals. He did no racing for almost a month and a half and came in here and qualified in the number 2 position. Meantime, a tough loss for Mark Oswald. Let's see if we can find out what happened.
Anything happen on the starting line to maybe cause you to lose your concentration a little bit? Anything go wrong?
I kind of looked down, and when I looked back up, he was staged already, and I just kind of lost my concentration, you know. And he got a good light, so that was that.
Look down at what?
I just looked down at the oil pressure or something. I don't even know what I looked at. I just lost my concentration for a second. When I looked up, both his lights were on, and it surprised me, you know, and just got lost.
For your first season in a funny car, you've done awful well, and our congratulations on a terrific year for you guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Mark Oswald, the world's fastest funny car racer at over 257 miles an hour. On the starting line, John Force from Fullerton, California, a touring racing professional, is taking on the defending champion from Waco, Texas, Billy Meyer. Billy started his career at the age of 16. He has never driven anything but a funny car. And look, there's problems with the Billy Meyer car. The crew raising the fiberglass body to gain access to the engine. Billy is sitting behind the engine. It's still running, and we don't see anything coming out of it. But there's obviously something wrong. A very animated Billy Meyer trying to point and relay with hand signals. Something's wrong with that racing engine. The crew looking over the fuel lines. The supercharger, of course, sitting on top of the engine. John Force patiently talking to his crew, or at least nodding. The body's going back down. Starter Buster Couch checks it to make sure it's A-OK and hooked at the front. And Billy Meyer, your number 2 qualifier, has got problems. If Mark Oswald lost his concentration by looking at his oil pressure, think what Billy Meyer's going through right now. He smokes the tires off the line. John Force, a little loss of traction, but he recovers quickly. And John Force wins the race, 5.90 seconds at a speed over 236 miles an hour. But the number 2 qualifier, Billy Meyer, even in defeat, has proven something to himself and to his crew that they are on the road back. The defending champion going out here in the second round of racing at the US Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The funny cars, the true crowd pleasers as our next pair. The engine's already started and the tires are smoking. Let's go down and talk to John Force.
Well, John Force powers his way past Billy Meyer and into the semifinals. Good weekend for you so far, John.
Well, I think it hurt itself there. I heard some noises. It wasn't a rod or nothing, but a valve broke or something, or a push rod or a spring or something. But yeah, Myers had trouble up there, and it just gave me a little time, you know, to do a little thinking about that tree. You know, I think, Steve, that tree's my biggest enemy. It scares me more than any racer I've ever raced, more than Prudhomme, more than McEwen. But I got me a little friendly deal going. If that tree will just hang on a little bit better, we'll share the money here.
Well, John Force has had his share of problems with the Christmas tree. Either he's too early in red lights or he's too late and the competition wins. But he seems right on target at this 29th annual US Nationals. Another racer that's right on target is the driver of the Mercury LN7 bodied car, Tom Anderson. The team of Alan Aronek and Jim Ouimet have a great driver in the Macedon, New York-based Tom Anderson. He'll be racing against another East Coast stalwart, Al Segrini from southeastern Massachusetts, who in the first round of competition drew the toughest nitro racer of them all, Don the Snake Prudhomme. Prudhomme from Granada Hills, California, has won more national titles at the wheel of a nitro-burning funny car or dragster in the history of the sport, and what a race it was. As Don Prudhomme with the lead, and then a small fire, the engine lets go. Segrini burned some pistons and won the race at 5.97 seconds, and Prudhomme went out in round number 1. As we watch again, the two cars are just like they're locked together when they leave the starting line. Don Prudhomme and Al Segrini. Prudhomme losing traction just a little bit. And now, as they near the timing traps, the smoke starting to come out of the right-hand side of Prudhomme's car, and then the fire erupts, and Segrini sneaks by with a 5.97 to Prudhomme's losing 5.96 seconds. So Segrini, with that win, advances to the second round. He is in the far lane of the racetrack. He is against Tom Anderson, who is approaching the starting line in the near lane. You may remember Tom Anderson from Diamond V Sports coverage of the recent Gator Nationals, when he exploded an engine into a ball of fire, but yet repaired the car and came back and made it to the semifinals of the Gator Nationals. But that's all behind him now. On the starting line, his opponent is Al Segrini, one of the toughest in the business. Segrini goes up in smoke. Tom Anderson streaks for the finish line, and Segrini is out of the race, losing the traction, giving the win to Tom Anderson at 6.09 seconds. His speed over 241 miles an hour, and if you're going to fall off the pace a little bit, the time to do it is when your competition goes up in smoke. The next pair of cars include the reigning world champion, Frank Hawley, driving the famed Chi-Town Hustler against the feared Blue Max of Raymond Beadle. Beadle used the last qualifying attempt available to him just to make this program. There have been some who say that his expansion into a NASCAR team and into a sprint car team has hurt his drag racing efforts, but his qualifying time reflects that the Blue Max is back and with a vengeance. When you couple his recent win at the NHRA Spring Nationals and his qualifying effort here, Raymond Beadle's drag racing effort is coming right up to par with the entire Blue Max operation. Frank Hawley, the Canadian driver, won the first 3 national events in a row this season, and he has a leg up and is leading the points chase this year for that world champion title. Raymond Beadle is familiar with the world championship. He won it 3 years in a row. At the US Nationals, the Blue Max in the near lane, the Chi-Town Hustler in the far lane, absolutely the best race cars and drivers assembled here for the 29th annual running of the world's largest drag race. A great start for Hawley, and Beadle is right with him. As they go down the track, it is just a matter of a car length, and Raymond Beadle and the Blue Max wins it with a 5.91 second, somewhat slower than his earlier 580s, but good enough to put him into the semifinals against Kenny Bernstein. Tom Anderson races John Force at the US Nationals.
From the dusty deserts of Baja, through the sound barrier, the Budweiser racing teams always play to win. This Bud's for you.
The National Hot Rod Association US Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park. And there have been some new improvements made here to this impressive facility.
Back in the early 60s, when the U.S. Nationals first came to IRP, that old tower over there was brand new and considered the finest around. This year, out of necessity, it's been replaced by the magnificent 4-story building behind me at a cost of some $400,000. The ground floor houses the raceway administration offices. The second floor, the race control, public address, timing, scoring, and also a completely equipped press room. The top 2 floors are luxurious VIP suites for important corporate sponsors, and the top is just an ideal vantage point on the observation deck. I guarantee you, this one is the finest around.
In a ceremony earlier today and a surprise announcement, Wally and Barbara Parks were honored as the new tower facility was dedicated as Parks Tower at IRP. Wally Parks, back in the early 50s, conceiving, creating, and founding the National Hot Rod Association. NHRA, the sanctioning body for this U.S. Nationals, has a number of different eliminator categories, and the Sportsman racing that was conducted here at the U.S. Nationals saw in stock eliminator Mark Wilson of Waldo, Florida, against Sammy Pizzolato of Houma, Louisiana. Pizzolato with a red light, Mark Wilson, your stock eliminator champ. In Super Stock Eliminator, Fred Neal in the near lane and Jimmy Bridges in the far lane. A red light for Jimmy Bridges, the automatic win for Fred Neal. Super Gas saw Iggy Bochesko from Philadelphia in the near lane. Red light away his chances to Bob Howland Jr. And in competition, another red light decided it. Sonny Ray on the losing side of the bracket. Gary Wenzel, the competition eliminator champion. In Top Alcohol Funny Car, it was a single as Hank Johnson of Washington State, unable to race Vern Motes in the final. And in Top Alcohol Dragster, a second-generation drag racer named Darrell Gwynn took the measure of Don DeVault to take home the Top Alcohol Dragster category. In the funny bike category, Charlie Israel in the near lane saw George Bryce III red light away his chances. Israel is the winner. And in the top fuel bike, an exciting finale between Elmer Trett in the near lane and Terry Vance in the far lane. It was Elmer Trett earlier in this competition that recorded the first official 200-mile-an-hour run by a fuel motorcycle as he topped 201 miles an hour in competition. For Terry Vance, a trouble-plagued final run. You see spurts of fire coming out of his engine, just below his knees, in fact, as Elmer Trent heads onto the finish line and wins the fuel bike category. Our congratulations to all of the champions at the U.S. Nationals. Darrell Gwynn, Vern Motes, Gary Wenzel, and Bob Howland. And in the remaining categories, Fred Neal, Mark Wilson, Elmer Trent, and Charles Israel, winners at the U.S. Nationals Sportsman Racing. We're set now for the semifinal round of Pro Stock. These are called the factory hot rods. There are some limitations on them, but they present to the audience the classic Battle of the Makes. The Ford Thunderbird of Bob Glidden warming his tires as he comes out of the water and heads toward the starting line. Glidden has had a very slow start this season, but the Thunderbird of the Glidden clan is coming back into its own, winner of the last two NHRA national events. He'll be racing the man that comes into this event leading the points chase for the World Championship, Frank Iaconio in the far lane, driving the potent Chevrolet Camaro. The car is very evenly matched. 500 cubic inch engines, 2 4-barrel carburetors, running on gasoline. Iaconio is staged. Glidden is waiting momentarily. There could be a bit of a psychological battle. Now Glidden inches forward, and it's a good start for both cars. Very evenly matched as they head toward the finish line. It looks like Iaconio pulling ahead, but Glidden pulls it out. A great run for Bob Glidden and a tremendous win. 7:74 is elapsed time. His speed over 180 miles an hour. Let's look again. They leave the starting line as if they're one. The front wheels come back to the ground. They are accelerating, pulling the levers on the planetary transmission. The cars with a bit of advantage here to Frank Iaconio. You can see just about a fender length. But the horsepower of the Ford of Bob Glidden comes on, and at the finish line, just inches. Bob Glidden now moves into his 7th straight final round appearance at the U.S. Nationals.
Bob Glidden want to run over and have a chat with Iaconio. They're shaking hands. Good. These two have had some pretty fierce wars on the starting line. You never know what that confrontation could have been. You didn't let him rush you this time.
Well, I haven't for some time. These daggone guys have been rough on me now.
Used you up.
And Iaconio, I know they're going to leave on their best light when they race me. So all I can do is take my time and do the best I can do.
Bob Glidden, the best he can do, 7 straight times in the finals. He'll be racing one of these two cars. In the near lane, the world champion, the big number 1, Lee Shepard, driving for the team of Rare and Morrison out of Dallas, Texas. Shepard is right on the heels of Frank Iaconio for the points chase. His competition from Westport, Massachusetts, comes Ronnie Manchester. Manchester using the Pontiac Trans Am body. It is Manchester against Shepard in the semifinals, and a red light by Ronnie Manchester. Lee Shepard moves into the finals to race Bob Glidden. So we will have the classic matchup, the Ford versus Chevrolet in the finals at the U.S. Nationals as Bob Glidden goes off against Lee Shepard. But back in the staging lanes, Richard Tharp is getting ready for his semifinal race against Joe Amato. Top Fuel and Funny Car coming up next. The semifinal round of Top Fuel Eliminator at the U.S. Nationals. Richard Tharp from Dallas, Texas, against Joe Amato. He comes from Old Forge, Pennsylvania, and both of these drivers are in quest of the very valuable World Championship points that goes with each round win. For Tharp, he is coming on late in the season and is gaining enough points to get into the top 5. For Joe Amato, he's not that far behind the leader, Gary Beck, and a win here would give him a big leg up in trying to move into number 1. A great start for both drivers. They're going down the track side by side, and at the finish line, by a matter of inches, it's Joe Amato. An outstanding 5:65 elapsed time. As we watch again, you could not ask for a more closely matched pair of cars. They leave the starting line and continue on about halfway down the course where Richard Tharp begins to make his move. And then right at the end, Joe Amato pulls it out. As you can see, a 5:65 to a losing 5:66.
Richard Tharp just hollered over. He didn't know who won.
I did. I was ahead. He made a little move on me about 1,000 foot, and I was just hoping we had enough to hold on. Boy, it must have been like that at the other end. Boy.
About 100th of a second, something like that.
Oh, boy. I knew I had to get a light, and I knew he was going to be there, because he broke the blower in the last round, and he had to put a fresh blower on. But we're just trying to tune it up, maintain consistency, and hope Beck fumbles along the way, because he's definitely got us covered in the ET department. But hopefully he won't, may have a little problem. That's all we can hope for now. If we have to go to the next round, we're going to have to step it up a little bit and try and run a 50 and beat him. That's all we can do.
Fourth consecutive race that Joe Amato has gone into the final round. Let's go back to the starting line and find out who his opponent is going to be.
Well, Steve, we'll know the results of that race in just a few moments. If Joe Amato gets any more excited, we're going to have to nail his feet to the ground to keep him from flying away. Going over and shaking hands with Richard Tharp, comparing notes on that very close race. But it is Joe Amato in the finals of his fourth consecutive race. What a match we have here. Gary Beck leading the point chase. He's been the hottest car all season. He won this race twice before, and young Scott Coletta, the 20-year-old rising star, a valiant effort. But for Gary Beck, a big win as now he continues on in competition. 5.58 his elapsed time, and that will give him lane choice in the final. The racer with a lower elapsed time gets the choice. It will be Gary Beck having lane choice over Joe Amato. On the starting line, the crew's waiting the word to start the engines in the Funny Car semifinals. Kenny Bernstein against his Dallas, Texas good friend Raymond Beadle, the body being lowered down on Kenny's Funny Car, the Mercury body, while Raymond Beadle going through the same procedure. Steve is with Gary Beck.
This is really for more than the U.S. Nationals. It could mean the World Championship this week.
Well, interestingly enough, it wasn't that long ago. Joe and his wife were in my backyard having a barbecue, and we talked about racing in the finals at Indy, and we're just going to do it.
There's your finalist, Joe Amato, Gary Beck. Going to be a beauty.
A very animated Gary Beck, quite happy, a somewhat dejected but yet very proud Scott Coletta at the age of 20, going to the semifinals of the most prestigious race of them all, the U.S. Nationals. This is the semifinals of Funny Car. Raymond Beadle from Dallas, Texas. His good friend Kenny Bernstein in the far lane, also from Dallas, Texas. This is what they call Texas Thunder, the 2,500 horsepower nitro-burning engines. The staging lights are lit and both drivers are ready for the green light. A good start. It's anybody's race at this point. And at the finish line by a half a car length, Kenny Bernstein moves into the finals for the second straight national event in a row. A 5.90 and an outstanding speed over 254 miles an hour. The next car's already started. John Force from Torrance, California is rolling into the water. John in the semifinal round here must win this race to have the right to meet Kenny Bernstein in the finals. Bernstein has been on quite a roll over the last few weeks.
Kenny Bernstein's first words coming out of the car, that was a drag race. And that it was as Raymond Beadle comes over, congratulates his old friend. Kenny Bernstein with a 5.90 goes into the Funny Car final. And you want a little perk, a little bonus here? You backed up the official national record.
Right.
The speed, 254.
All right, super. That was nice coming.
Doesn't pay anything, but it looks good in the book.
Pay nothing, but that's all right. We'll take it. That was a race. I mean, a race. I knew it was just right there. What can I say? It's going good. One more time, Steve. One more, I hope.
You were right on the light again, too.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the vitamins I took this morning, huh? I don't know.
A very happy Kenny Bernstein. That record that Steve is talking about was a 254-mile-an-hour run set earlier by Bernstein in qualifying. Here's the car of Alan Aronek and Jim Ouimet. Tom Anderson is the driver. He is racing John Force, about as far apart across the country as you can get. From New York State to California, they all assemble at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the U.S. Nationals. And John Force bit by the Christmas tree ever so slightly again as Tommy Anderson. A tremendous start for Anderson, and it paid off at the finish line. Look at the time, 5.86 seconds. He'll have lane choice as he goes into the final against Kenny Bernstein here at the U.S. Nationals. At the U.S. Nationals, a lovely lady and her pet looking on as we get set for the finals in Pro Stock, Funny Car, and Top Fuel. Our first match, the Chevrolet of Lee Shepard, the Ford of Bob Glidden. This is Pro Stock, and this is where the crowd has a chance to root on their favorite. If you drive a Chevrolet, you've got to be thinking about Lee Shepard, the reigning world champion, the team of Rare and Morrison, one of the most successful combinations ever in the sport of drag racing. He is racing an even more successful competitor. Bob Glidden has won 38 national titles in his long career. He is appearing at the U.S. Nationals finals for the 7th consecutive year. Bob Glidden driving the new '83 Ford Thunderbird with a Ford shotgun Hemi for power, 500 cubic inches of Ford, 500 cubic inches of Chevrolet. The cars, 2,350 pounds each with the driver. That's the least they can weigh. And we're into a bit of a staging battle. You heard Glidden talking about it earlier, not getting rushed by Iaconio. Neither driver's getting rushed. Here they're just sitting there. The starter, Buster Couch, looking at each driver, trying to figure out how long can they sit there before he says he's doing it now. He's saying, now's the time, gentlemen. Let's bring him to the line. All the psychological play is over. It is Shepard moving in first. Now here comes Bob Glidden. The RPMs go up, and it's a great start. It appears that Shepard has got a slight advantage, but look at the Ford Thunderbird come on. And at the finish, it's Bob Glidden by half a car length. The crew goes nuts. Bob and his wife, Etta, and his sons worked so hard to get to this point, and now Bob Glidden wins the U.S. Nationals title with the quickest run of the day, 7.68 seconds. His speed, 180 miles an hour. Our replay will show you just how close it is. The two cars coming off the starting lines, the front wheels raising off the pavement, then back down. They settle down with Glidden in the far lane, Shepard in the near lane. It's anybody's race at this point. The power of the Thunderbird starts to come on as they approach the finish line, and Bob Glidden moves through the traps, winning his 5th U.S. Nationals title.
I have never, ever at any drag race heard a crowd roar as they just did for you, Bob Glidden.
Great. Gosh damn it, Steve, we're so happy. I'll tell you, this, when you come through this mess, you beat the Kuntzes and the Iaconios and the Shepards. We're proud, not just of this, but the family, Etta, and the kids. I've got a kid that's got a leg, he can't even walk on it, and he's been out here working all weekend. Damn it, we're just tickled to death.
And they should be. A tribute to the Glidden clan, Bob Glidden winning his 5th U.S. Nationals title. 1 year ago, Kenny Bernstein and Tom Anderson were racing teammates. They have gone their separate ways. Now they're in the final of the U.S. Nationals. The funny car title on the line. In the near lane, it is Tom Anderson. In the far lane, Kenny Bernstein. They're off the line together. Anderson has to back out of it, and Bernstein pulls ahead. He holds on for the win, and it is Kenny Bernstein, the champion. The crew realizing that in 3 short weeks, Kenny Bernstein has won over $100,000 in cash. Bernstein, the U.S. Nationals funny car champion. Back at the starting line, the engines are started for our Top Fuel final as Joe Amato hopes to keep rein on his emotions and reach the point of concentration where he can duplicate the win he just saw by Kenny Bernstein. You know, Bernstein's got to be a happy man.
The body comes up, soaked with oil. Kenny Bernstein screaming, unbelievable. If you've been following NHRA drag racing over the last few years, you know how hard this man has struggled. How many times he's failed to make the cut, not qualified, occasionally stepping up and winning one of the races, but nothing like this. Not the U.S. Nationals, Kenny. Congratulations.
It's me. It's just, I'm speechless. Does that happen, I guess?
That's not you.
No, I know. Phenomenal. Just, it's just 2 days in a row in this thing, the U.S. Nationals. How long has it been? Years and years and years. But boy, a crew, I got to give it to them, Armstrong.
Do it.
The whole weekend, the whole guys, they did good.
And so did Kenny Bernstein, the funny car champion. Here we are, Top Fuel final. Joe Amato in the points chase for the World Championship, racing the man that is currently leading. Gary Beck driving for Larry Minor. He's been the hottest car all year. And it is Beck out first in front of Amato. And the power of the Larry Minor machine carries him to the U.S. Nationals champion. Larry Minor giving a big hug to Gary's wife, Penny, at the starting line. And Gary Beck wins the U.S. Nationals Top Fuel title in fine style with a 5:50 elapsed time. We'll be right back. At the U.S. Nationals, let's go back to the starting line and watch once more the exciting Top Fuel finale. Joe Amato in the far lane, Gary Beck in the near lane, and Beck, with this win, increases his lead in the World Championship points chase. It was a good start for both drivers, but the power of the Larry Minor machine came on at the end of the 1,320 feet, and Gary Beck takes the Top Fuel title, and our congratulations going to all the professional champions. In Top Fuel, Gary Beck, Kenny Bernstein in Funny Car, and Bob Glidden in Pro Stock. These three champions head the list of winners that took home the lion's share of drag racing's first ever $1 million purse. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from the U.S. Nationals. Brought to you by Goodyear, makers of Wrangler all-season radials for light trucks and Eagle high-performance radials. And by Meguiar's. For over 50 years, Meguiar's quality waxes and polishes have been the choice of car care professionals. And by Motorcraft, quality parts for all makes of cars. Motorcraft exceeds the need. The executive producer of Diamond P Sports is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John D. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by Pontiac Trans Am. Excitement, feel the sting as the road yields to the power and your 83 Trans Am sets you free as only Trans Am can. Pontiac. And by Bardol. After being treated with Bardol, this car was driven 114 miles with no oil in the crankcase. Use Bardol regularly. It could save your engine. And by Christie Brand. For cold weather starts to eliminate knocks, wipe out moisture, and move out every time. Look for Christie Brand, the original where you buy auto supplies. And by Schick disposable razors that have a permanent sliding cap and sharp triple hone twin blades for close, smooth, comfortable shaves. The Schick disposable razor. And by Pontiac, check it out, the Pontiac 2000 with 5-speed transmission, overhead cam engine, and electronic fuel injection. All standard Pontiac. We build excitement. Coverage of the National Hot Rod Association's U.S. Nationals has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports.